to your right, to your left, center, inhale, exhale. Okay, hands in your waist, circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more. 1, 2. Center cross. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Hands in your waist, neck turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Tilt to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, and stop. Center. Down, circular movements. 1, 2, 3. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, spread your feet. Turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, center, stretch it out. Switch. 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 Okay, straighten the front knee. Switch. 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 Center. Okay, shake it out. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands in your waist. Shoulder roll. Reverse. And center. Okay, press, release, exhale, inhale. And stop. Hands up, pull in, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay. Wrists. reverse. Okay, palms down, bigger circle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Okay, let's shift side to side, find the center. Okay, we'll lift. And center. Okay, shake it out. Leg swing. And center. Switch. And side to side. Okay, switch. And center. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Still grilling. Switch. Okay, open and close. Switch. Okay, Sana. Circular movements. And lower hoop. Shoulder height. Okay, elbows down. Palms down. Extend. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, diagonal flying. Okay, switch. Okay, Sana, cloud hands. Okay, carry tiger to the mountain. Infinity sign. Form the fists. So because the hands are parallel, actually the hands are square. So if you have one hand punching, then you would go toward the center. But two hands, just like the push, the punch should be parallel square. And because they're even on both sides, there's no twisting. So anytime you would do this as a drill, you would just keep it square. Now when you do a single punch, you would actually be turning. Now leopard and tiger springs to mountain, you may twist, and then one side is a dominant hand. You know, depending on, because when you're in a stance other than this, then there would be some action that's happening below, because one leg is in front, one leg is in back, one leg gets weight and it transfers the other leg, so then there's something going on there, so upper body has something going on there, tied through your torso, because that's what links it together. So movements that are, you know, in, say, forward and empty stances has to have some turning right or left. Yeah. So forming the fist, you would be punching like this. Then we go to strum the lute. Now we have the turning a bit in the shoulders because we have one hand sort of the dominant side, your right or left. So that's where you start to bring in the turning of the upper body. Now, you bring your focus or even consciousness of a position based on your hands moving, and you twist a little bit. That means something's happening below, right? So you would feel the pressure on the soles of your feet changing if you bring your awareness there. And then when you shift, then the toe and the heel become a relationship. Now when I turn, you can feel your body on the side that's up, the weight going toward the front, to the ball of the foot. Then when you switch, the opposite happens. Then you get that toe-heel relationship. Okay, thumbs up. And flip the other side. So here you're not going to feel the same forward and backward action because you're going essentially vertical. Forward, extend, turn, draw, turn, draw, turn, draw. Okay, fan through the back. Okay, raise the hand. Okay, palms down. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So if you're coming in this way, you would turn this way slightly. Then it comes through sana, and then that ends up there, right? Then this comes down, then this comes up, and then you kind of reset. So this would be neutral, sort of, and if you turn to right or left, would be, so this would go like that. Because you notice if you did palm strikes face and you came in through center, your arm would do this. If you went like this to turn, your arm would do this, right? So movements are compatible with the direction. Like when we bring the elbow in, you're starting to create an action that way, right? And then when you start to either turn to your center or turn outward like this, the direction of movement becomes that, right? So there's a natural course of how the body will move based on how your body responds to direction. So sometimes I say movement should be compatible with direction. It's multi-dimensional and in multi-directions, so your body has to become astute enough to pick up that idea. So when our hands are like this and we turn like this and we turn like this, that's your direction, right? But if you go like this, that doesn't necessarily mean your body is moving with the motion. So when you get in say, brush knee, this is the way you turn. But then your spine is the axis, so it goes through the heel of your foot, and we turn in that direction. And then we turn back. Because the direction of movement becomes this, right? Because the movement is going this way, when you put it together, that's the direction that's compatible. And, then along with that, if this hand is doing this, that's also supplementing the direction of this turn. Because the hand is going in this direction, then we're going forward, then the direction of movement becomes this, because now you change directions. So when movements are generated in space, it's multi-dimensional. It's not just one direction. It changes because your body's moving, minutely in different, sort of hemispheres in that space. So you have to really time the movement and, where those changes happen, is really the efficiency and the course of that motion. It's like someone throwing those discus things where they kind of run around, they spin like this and then they let it go. And your goal is to get it to as long as you can. Well, there's only one line that's going to be at the longest point. And then it has to do when you release it, right? If there's a point, the tangent off that circle, if I let it go here, it's going to go over there. If I let it over here, it's going to be over there. So there's only one point that's going to be the optimum position. That one point is the sort of the triangle that goes from the waist to that point, and it's the same as when your hand projects like this. So there's only one line that's actually the true line. All the other lines are slightly variant of that. So that makes the difference between, the distances that would travel. So the body, so that's a projection of an item, but that's really producing a force in a direction. So that has to carry. Now if something else gets into the middle of it, like wind or, something else that throws that off, then I guess you'd have to compensate for that. So if there was wind blowing, say, this way, you'd have to let it go a little bit later. If it was blowing this way, you'd have to let it go a little earlier. So all those are variables that affect your affect that. With us, because we're not really projecting out that far, it's only an imaginary point that goes to here. Then it's the nose, that point, your knee. So that's the points of alignment. So your body strives for that point of alignment, which is your leaning position. The 3 points of alignment is the nose, the hand, and the feet. There's one line. And then that line is projected through here and then down the body, and then it ends up in the heel of this foot as an alignment of your body. So that's structure, the integrity, structural integrity. But then you're moving in space, so can you get all that to line up, sequentially in a specific order? So the movement is generated from the legs. It's tied to the torso. And because we're going forward from the rotation, then the body has to compensate for the forward projection and also where your weight is going to end up and how far that weight goes before you start to lift this. So you should be in the final position between here and the heel of that back foot to have stability. But then if you were to pass through that and step through, your body would actually start to go forward, but we don't do that until we turn. Because that goes into the next posture. So that's really the timing and the procedure, the method. We have to sit back and toe out, unweight, and so forth. So even like just going from that idea, and you go to turning the palm over, your body will actually produce a similar pattern and a direction. So it's called palm strikes face or chuan, right? So when you're going from palm strikes face to here, if you're doing this or you're doing this, that's just one phase of that movement. When I'm here and then I sit back, then that's roll back and pull down. If I come through here, that's that position. And I come down here, that's this part of the motion. If I come back, I pick the movement up from here. Right. That same action is something that's similar to parry and punch. If I'm here and I stroke down and I create the parry and punch. If I'm here and I stroke down as a pullback, I change and convert it to a parry and punch. That motion is really similar. So when we do all these different postures, even though they're all different, movement and motions become sort of similar, but in a sense cross-training. Because your brain only can, figure certain things out if it's sort of been there often enough. So then it starts to cross-reference the timing and the space, and then you start to figure out, well, that's parry and punch, and the hand has to be here. So the hand that's there, and the hand that's here, and the hand that's here, and the hand that's here, the hand that's here, are the same, right? So you have to go through this whole process. Even though it's as simple as it is, you have to go this whole process of learning and relearning all these different, transitions. Then the body starts to recognize. That's what I call complexity reaching simplicity. You have to learn so many forms and so many transitions before your body becomes astute enough to know the difference. It doesn't know the difference in the beginning because it all seems to be different. It's separate. So as you learn each movement, it's all compartmentized up here. Then when those files start to work together, it starts to shrink and it becomes common. When it becomes common, then it becomes simple. That's why someone that spends 20 years or 30 or 60 or 40 years, whatever it is, in a field, everything seems so simple when they reach that highest level, because you just know it. And that applies to any discipline. You know, time is the essence. You have to do it long enough to recognize the difference. Meanwhile, when you're first learning as a student in anything, you like hit that book and you're just memorizing everything. And then you forget half of it. But when you get to a certain level, you don't have to memorize it anymore. It becomes a concept. It's a conceptual thing. And you begin to understand it in a much deeper, mode. And then you can answer questions. Sounds pretty simple, right? But that's the process. We all know, anybody that's gone through it that at our age would know that that's how it works. But tell a teenager that, or tell, someone that's kind of in adolescence ages, tell them that you've already been there. They won't believe it, But as they get older, then when they're in their 30s, they'll say, okay, maybe my parents do know something. So it's kind of like that. Anyways, got off tangent. That's what I learned from my life experience. It's the same thing. Okay, let's go through the form. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, so we can go through a long sequence. Sometimes we don't get to go through that. So go from beginning to end. If we have any question, we can work on a small piece. All right, ready? From beginning. So all of this becomes a repeat. So planting punch or punch down the crotch, step up, grasp the sparrow's tail. Then we're near the end. We have another section. This is downward posture. Step up, cross hands. Step back, retreat, ride the tiger. Palm strikes face. Turn. Double lotus. Draw bow to shoot tiger. Then we have this repeat again, palm strikes face. Parry and punch. Palm strikes face, high pat the horse. Step up, right side, grasp the sparrow's tail to the end. Single whip. Okay, good. Deep breathing. So the closing is just like in the Tai Chi Paradigm. You hold the ball, then we reverse the ball. Now if you integrate that, then you would pivot, and then pivot, and then here's your right side diagonal flying. So this is down here, out to the side. So it's just a mirror of this. This is your right side, and then you're here. So that same maneuver actually happens just before we do the part the horse's mane. There's a diagonal flying, and then there's your 5 part the horse's manes. So the form itself really is repeating a lot of the sections twice, right? So that's, yeah. So we're here. We were to close. You can create the right side, and then when this goes out to here, then this hand has to come to here to level this, and then the weight's there, so we just pass through center. Okay, then we pivot here to the front, then we cross, step to the side, elbow to the right, and then elbows draw back, and the left foot pivots. Then you bring the weight back. So there's a lot of substantial and insubstantial weight control maneuvering in the end, but it's the same in both forms. So if you learn it one place, you're gonna know it the other place. So any section you want to review, or yeah.
I think as one comes up, one goes down.
Yeah, one goes up, one comes down, but when you're first learning it as a gross movement, there's up and down, there's right and left, there's so and so forth. But if you look at grasp the sparrow's tail, this is your final position, right? Then you hook. So there's your setup for the first single whip. Right. So when we do this and draw across, there's your first single whip. So the first stroke essentially is the same as if you're doing a cloud hand, right? So if I go like this and this goes down, then I shift my weight. If I make the jog, or if it's in just like in the paradigm, we just go through that, then your hand would go through here and then pass through here again. And then if you consider this as the starting point where the single whip was, that would be the point that you would make the exchange between the up and down. Now what can actually probably help that is if you're in this position and you go into single whip, then you make your first transition that goes to here. You're going to see the hand can use this as a starting position, and then you transition across, and then you go to here, right? So if you just go up and down, then you end up here, and it just goes like that, and then it becomes sort of a missing link there, right? There's one missing link. What's the missing link? The missing link is if I'm here, if I turn my hand like this, that gives me a chance to bring this up, because your hand has to spin like this before it starts to go down. So if you don't turn the hand first, then you're not going to have that slight delay in time for the other hand to come up, because the other hand has to go further. So if you just get to here and this, you already want to bring this down, then you lost that little timing phase that's required to get you to come to here. Then you can actually turn the hand and give. So while this is turning out and this is merging here and the foot is going down to transition into the heel, your body has to be able to pick up on that. So, when you add that little turn there to your movements, it's going to throw all your timing off, because it's going to be something that you're thinking about, then your legs are not going to work. So then you have to kind of get that so that it happens as a course of the fact. So that's bringing in another dimension of movement, because your forearm turns. And your forearm turns, right? In fact, you can't make a circle unless you turn your forearm. Your arm is not designed to make a complete circle without making that rotation. At least you can't trace the circle. So that's what I call the manipulation of skeletal structure. So what's the advantage of that? Is gives you a phase of timing that allows the hands to really, and this becomes that, and that becomes that. Palm strikes face. See? I mean, your bones, your, say the 12 major pieces, only can turn so many ways. It's the combinations of those turns that creates the action and the, the way it looks and how you synchronize it. The linkage is the timing. So you really can't. So that's what evolving is. In the beginning, you can't get all of it to happen immediately, because it just doesn't work like that. Your brain can't figure it out, and it doesn't know. We talked about in the other days. What does the brain know? It doesn't know anything. It's what you feed it, what you tell it, what it sees, and then it has this ability to sort of decipher that information. Maybe there's another way that it works, but I'm not sure that you have to give it something to work with. So you have to feed your brain with your correct information and the visuals. So the visuals, and then knowing that you have to turn the hand in this corner to find what we learned originally as a single whip. Because a single whip really is just this, right? Even in the Yang style, when we're here, isn't it from here to here, right? And then when we come back, essentially we still have to do this. Or actually theirs is a little bit more horizontal. And they don't turn the feet. So because it's more horizontal, the hands want to turn like this. So one missing component sometimes when we're doing the cloud hands is the wrapping of the body. To wrap the body, you actually have to let your elbow drift out in order to create the roundness of the body. Because if you're in a cylinder and you're trying to create the roundness, if the elbow doesn't go in and out, then you don't have that dimension. So if you're always doing the cloud hands with the elbow tight here, then you don't have the fullness, the volume of that. So when you turn, even here it turns, and then it turns, and then it sinks. So you have both the shoulder going in and out. So what is creating that action is one more taking to another joint, which is your shoulder. So when we hollow the chest, like when we stand like this and we go 45 degrees, and I go to the corner like this is bringing the shoulder forward, because this is when it's flat. When the shoulder's forward like this, you have a hollow here, right? Right where the shoulder meets, the shoulder girdle there's the clavicle there's a hollowing there. And on this side is hollow. So hollowing the chest and rounding the back is that hollowing. Now, when you're hollowed and you sink your elbow, that's where you find the single whip position with the elbow dropping down toward the elbow, right? Now they're here, but you turn your palms out. Now you have the position that we learned there, right? So those positions were there. It's whether you realize how important it is when you're making your transitions. Now, when we're here, that's the shoulder cup position. So you drop your hand here. It fills out a little bit because the muscle contracted. But if you go like this, now the elbow is out again. And then this elbow in. So that's another dimension of movement that we don't actually realize. Sink the elbow, relax the shoulder. So where does that happen? If we're here and I go like this, I turn like this, and then I sink my elbow and it comes back in, and then it goes back out. Now you added another dimension of movement there. And then if you go like this in cloud hands and I go like this, that's a dimension of movement here. So why is it the shoulder so difficult to control? Because it's just like your hip. We don't use it like that. It's not a normal action that we normally do, right? If you're sitting on a desk all day long, or you're, working on your laptop, you don't move your shoulder really. In fact, your shoulders probably get tired from holding your arms like this, right? But you don't actually create that motion. So that's why we have, a lot of problems with these these rotary joints, these ball and socket joints, because when we don't know that dimension of movement, then there's a good chance of misaligning the joint when you move. And not only that, but it gets dysfunctional in a sense that doesn't know how to change directions to line up so that it moves naturally. We move them, but we force them. Like when you play tennis, you do overhand serve, or you swing a golf club, or anything that requires full range of motion. We're not in the right body position to create the full range of motion. Just like we're not in the right position to create that without forcing it. So that's why we try not to do our movements with any strength. Because you can learn through relaxed motion much better than when you just try to replicate a movement in the body not knowing. Because the chance of getting injured is more likely. Because we just don't know. It's as simple as that. So while we go out and run and we do all these things because we see everybody running, most people hurt themselves because they don't know how to. Then they go out and buy a new pair of shoes or this and that because they need all this equipment to jog. But the joints are not really working efficiently. So you throw your knee out, you throw your hip out. You always get sore after you do something you don't do for a while or never knew. So because your body doesn't really do it right the first time. So that's what movement. We just the body's pretty stupid actually. We don't know any of it. That's what my teacher says. He used to call them stupid hands. One of the things as a technique, because Tai Chi was martial art. He said, if someone grabs your hand, and we practice all these things like get away from that. He says those are called stupid hands, because if someone grabs your wrists, like you grab my wrist, right, and he's holding on, why would you actually try to get away from that? Because you have this hand, right? You grab my hand, they kick you in the shin and hit you with the other. So why do you deal with that hand? Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. But that's just a strategy. How do you get away from that? So, anyways, we can bow. Okay, salute. It's just food for thought.